Welcome to United Health Services Hospital's Helipad Safety, Helicopter, and Aeromedical Transport Education Program. This program is designed for UHS staff and any affiliate that may be involved in helipad operations or a helicopter or fixed-wing medevac mission at UHS hospitals. During this program, we will provide participants with comprehensive information about the program at UHS Wilson Medical Center. At the conclusion of this video program, participants will be able to meet the following objectives and complete a brief post-assessment. The participant will be able to provide a summary of transfer criteria and safety considerations when using an aeromedical program at UHS. 1. The participant will be able to define terms related to aeromedical operations and missions. 2. The participant will be able to describe the location and discuss in detail UHS policies pertaining to helipad safety and air ambulance operations. 3. The participant will be able to list several examples of safe helipad operations. And 4. The participant will be able to identify who to contact to request a flight or make the request. UHS Wilson Medical Center will operate its helicopter landing facility in a safe and efficient manner to minimize risk to all and maximize patient safety, clinical outcome, and survival. Only properly trained and credentialed staff with a helicopter on their ID badge with the director management role function on or in the vicinity of the helipad. Drills or actual missions will test compliance with this policy and procedure quarterly. Only one security officer is needed to respond to open the helipad. Hospital staff, such as RN, RT, aides, and doctors, will only respond to the helipad when requested by the flight team. The history of aeromedical operations. Aeromedical programs provide a mechanism for safe, effective, and rapid transfer of the sick and or injured and provide high-quality, effective patient care with the ultimate goals of reducing mortality and improving clinical outcomes. UHS hospitals work effectively with several aeromedical programs. We work closely with LifeNet of New York, a division of Air Methods, as the primary aeromedical program serving UHS, and we have preferred provider agreement with. LifeNet can provide UHS with both helicopter and fixed-wing aircraft to accommodate a vast array of clinical situations requiring complex, specialized care, equipment, or transfer destinations. Their critical care flight team is highly skilled and trained in areas such as burns, cardiac, pediatrics, respiratory, and trauma, and can also assist with specialty team transports. These medevac medical teams are often configured with a pilot, a registered nurse, a paramedic, and practice under the direct guidance of physician medical directors licensed in the state of operation. Their fleet of aircraft are equipped with specialty medical interiors that support intensive critical care medical transports in compliance with New York State Department of Health regulations, as well as standard safety technologies such as terrain avoidance warning systems, night vision imaging systems, satellite weather and tracking systems, searchlights, and wire strike protection systems to further enhance safety. Fixed-wing aircraft. Examples include airplanes or jets which are capable of flight using wings that generate lift caused by the vehicle's forward airspeed and the shape of their wings. Typically, this type of aircraft accommodates larger medical equipment and has less restrictions with weight and weather in comparison to helicopters. Fixed-wing aircraft have a longer range than helicopters and a faster airspeed. For purposes of comparison, the LifeNet of New York fixed-wing aircraft based in Potsdam, New York near the Canadian border has a single pilot, a medical crew of a registered nurse, and a paramedic, as well as the ability to transport the patient and one additional passenger. It has a payload of 3,500 pounds, a range of 1,560 nautical miles, and a cruising range of 270 knots. That's 312 miles per hour. Helicopter, rotor-wing aircraft. An aircraft which uses rotating wings that provide both lift and thrust, allowing the aircraft to take off and land vertically, to hover, and to fly forward, backward, and laterally. The main rotor, the rotating wings on top of the aircraft. It's important to never approach the aircraft when either the main rotor or tail rotor is moving. Be sure to never hold anything above your head. Tail boom. The tubular structure connecting the fuselage to the tail rotor. Tail rotor, the rotating wing attached to the tail boom. Tail rotors may be open or closed. For the purposes of this training, it really doesn't matter to us whether the tail rotor is open or closed. Members of our ground crews will always stay away from them, even when off, and understand they have the ability to produce winds up to 70 miles an hour. The tail rotors may also suck in loose objects. Rotor wash. The wind turbulence created by the rotors during approach, landing, or takeoff. The downdraft of rotor wash can reach forces of 40 to 70 miles per hour, propelling debris in many directions and can cause significant injury and property damage. Fuselage, the main body of the aircraft, containing the pilot, passenger, patient, equipment, etc. Skids, the tubular structure on the bottom of the aircraft which supports the helicopter when it is on the ground. While you should not be afraid of the aircraft, there are many other parts of the aircraft which may pose a danger to you, your patient, or your flight crew should you come in contact with or should they become damaged. Most helicopters have several protrusions off the fuselage. They may be antennas for communication devices, instrumentation sensors, strike avoidance, lighting, etc. These should only be touched by the flight crew. Helicopter doors may open or slide. They should be opened with care and carefully closed only by the flight team. They should never be shut hard or slam shut, like you might close a car door. And lastly, many specialty materials are used to manufacture the aircraft. Some may look durable, but they may bend, crack, or chip with minor pressure. Never stand, climb, or step on any part of the aircraft unless you've been invited to do so by a member of the flight crew. Hot offload. Term used by the flight crew in which the patient is removed from the aircraft while the engines are powered up and the rotor is moving. It is the policy of UHS that their employees acting as a member of the ground crew will not participate in the hot offloading of a patient. Any incoming aircraft crew requesting a hot offload will be advised of this policy, so they may make an alternative plan to offload the aircraft. We do allow the flight crew to complete a hot offload of their patient without our assistance and transfer the patient to or from our stretcher. The main helipad at Wilson Regional Medical Center is located above the 6th floor on the rooftop of the Wilson Main Tower. The path of access for hospital staff to the helipad will be the two main elevators that have a blue star of life marked at the entry to the elevators that indicate they go to the helipad. These elevators are controlled with the employee badges, allowing trained, certified staff to access the helipad. These elevators allow you to stop at any of the floors or directly to the emergency department. While exiting the elevator, you will find yourself in the Wilson Main Tower penthouse. The Wilson Main Tower penthouse contains required safety gear and equipment for a successful patient arrival or transfer. In this penthouse, you will find the following: 2 specifically designed transport stretchers which have no mattresses, no linens, or no pillows. Personal protective equipment, inner and outer ear protection, eye protection, gowns, and gloves for use by hospital staff. Portable oxygen tank equipped with a quick connector regulator. There is also a phone for communications with the ED or another patient care unit. When you exit the elevators in the Wilson Main Tower penthouse, you will remain within the penthouse until the helicopter has landed and completely shut down. After the helicopter is shut down and security gives you the okay to exit the penthouse to the helipad, this is for your safety and the flight crew's safety. The helipad is equipped with a fire suppression system. This is a dry system that when activated by the yellow pool stations, one in the penthouse next to the lighting controls on the wall and one at the base of the stairs under the helipad. When activated, the 150-gallon system will mix with water, putting pressure on the bladder within the foam tank, then forcing the foam up and out to the 8 nozzles that are around the edges of the helipad. That will spray 3% foam mixture onto the aircraft for 15 minutes to allow time for the fire department to arrive and take over. The helipad is painted with an anti-skid paint to help keep traction on the helipad for people walking around the helipad and for the helicopter when landing. The helipad is also equipped with a snow and ice melt system that runs 24/7 on a 50-50 mix of glycol through 2 pumps. Only 1 pump at a time will run. If something should fail on pump 1, the second pump will start up automatically. This system has a freezing point of -40. On a daily basis, both the UHS security and engineering departments complete and document a thorough investigation of the penthouses and the flight deck or landing zone. Throughout the day, security personnel monitor and inspect the flight deck for any garbage, debris, or changing conditions. Any vendor working on or in any area of the helipad will be accompanied by security or engineering staff. The receiving or sending units: nursing leader, manager, coordinator, charge nurse, nursing supervisor, or EMS program manager of EMS, life flight operations, or on-call flight manager will notify the switchboard stat line for the specific overhead paging if needed. Inbound flights. When a flight is inbound to Wilson, the switchboard will receive a call from the flight service advising there is an inbound flight with an ETA. The switchboard will announce Operation Life Flight overhead, identify unit with the ETA, notify UHS security to open the helipad. The switchboard will contact the on-call EMS Life Flight Operations Manager that is on call to notify them of the inbound flight. If the life flight should call the ER via the EMS radio, the ER should notify the switchboard of the incoming flight via the stat line with an ETA. Based on Operation Life Flight page request, the switchboard will be responsible for notifying UHS security via radio, Johnson City Fire Department via Broom Communications, Johnson City Police Department via Broom Communications, nursing supervisor and DON covering the hospital via Telmed IQ paging group, on-call medevac flight operations manager. Operation Life Flight pages should occur when the aircraft has a verified estimated time of arrival to the hospital of 15 to 20 minutes out. When there is an inbound helicopter coming to Wilson Regional Medical Center, an overhead page will occur when the helicopter is confirmed to have an ETA of 15 minutes or less. In addition to activating various texting and page notifications, the overhead emergency tone will be activated 3 times, followed by the specific announcement. There are 3 distinct paging protocols or sequences. For an inbound mission, the following page will be used.
Medical alert. Operation Life Flight is now in effect. Inbound mission to the emergency room. ETA 11 minutes. Medical alert. Operation Life Flight is now in effect. Inbound mission to the emergency room. ETA 11 minutes.
This page is always used when a helicopter ETA is 15 minutes or less. This page requires the response of 1 security officer to open the helipad. If the flight crew makes a request for additional help, we will send the appropriate staff to the helipad to assist the flight crew. When there is an outbound helicopter coming to Wilson Regional Medical Center to transfer a patient, an overhead page will occur when helicopter is 15 minutes or less. Here's what that announcement will sound like. Operation Life Flight now in effect. Outbound mission from CCU. ETA 7 minutes. This page requires 1 security officer to respond and open the helipad. Occasionally, training missions occur at the facility. This would sound like: Operation Life Flight is now in effect. ETA 10 minutes. Training mission. This will require 1 security officer to respond and open the helipad. Following the departure of the helicopter from the Wilson Main Tower rooftop helipad, the operator will be notified by security that Operation Life Flight all clear. This will be announced by the operator only to the security and the emergency department via their radios. Please note that this does not include an emergency tone over the hospital paging system, and this sequence does not go out over pagers or as a text message. This is not announced overhead. Patients that are being flown to Wilson Medical Center may or may not be arriving for care by the trauma, stroke, or cardiac team. It is important to note that the helicopter paging sequences are separate and distinct from specialty teams activation. Trauma, stroke, or cardiac teams activation will be paged independently of life flight pages in accordance with their policies. Upon notifications of an incoming helicopter, the security staff will be notified as soon as possible to allow them to turn on the helipad lights, obstruction lights, perimeter lights, and locator beacon for all missions, unless directed to do so otherwise by helicopter operations or the pilot. With a remote lighting controller system, the helicopter pilot could also turn on the helipad lights from a distance away. The lights will stay on for 15 minutes only when the helicopter activates the lights. This is done using radio frequencies. The walkway lighting will be turned on after the helicopter has safely landed by security to reduce the chance of blinding the crew if they are using night vision. They will also perform an additional safety inspection of the flight deck and secure the perimeter of the flight deck. For incoming patient transfers, the receiving unit should send properly credentialed clinical staff to the Wilson Main Tower penthouse to prepare for the helicopter arrival. The unit will park in the emergency department ambulance parking, PT wheeled across the pad. For outgoing transfers, the patient should be properly prepared and ready to meet the helicopter flight team on the transferring clinical unit. A bed-to-bed transfer will occur on the inpatient unit between UHS clinical staff and the flight team. This will ensure a safe and orderly transfer of patient care. By federal law, the pilot is ultimately in charge of the aircraft and responsible for flight operations. There should not be any radio communications to the aircraft during landing or takeoff, except for major emergency condition. During landing or takeoff, all ground personnel must remain within the Wilson Main Tower penthouse. The flight crew will use hand signals to guide the UHS ground crew as needed once the helicopter rotors are shut down. There is no smoking, open flames, lasers, or flash photography allowed in the penthouse, the landing zone, within the safe zone, or on the flight deck at any time. UHS staff will ensure all clothing, badges, stethoscopes, hats, jackets, etc. are secure at all times. Loose articles can become dangerous flying projectiles. All personnel within the penthouse are required to use inner ear protection. Never raise your hands or place anything above your head. Keep IVs on a stretcher next to the patient until you are off the flight deck. Do not bring any linens, pillows, mattresses, or IV poles to the flight deck. Depending on the type of helicopter, patients may be loaded and unloaded from the side of the helicopter or through rear doors known as clamshell doors. The UHS ground crew will take direction from the flight crew at all times regarding the safe and proper techniques for the loading or unloading of patients. It is important to realize that many patients may arrive directly from a crash scene or perhaps a smaller local hospital. They may be intubated. They may not have their C-spine cleared, or may have a variety of other injuries. Never let the condition or physical presentation of your patient distract you from a safe helicopter operation. When loading or offloading the patient, the use of good body and lift mechanics is essential for the wellness of both the ground and flight crew. Each helicopter layout may provide a unique challenge for the staff member moving the patient. Be aware and take precautions to avoid pinch injuries. The challenge could be further complicated by the patient's condition, what equipment may be required for continuing their care, and other variables such as the need for ventilation, airway management, or ongoing spinal motion restriction. Special care should be taken when you are working on the helipad, as there may be water, rain, snow, wind, and ice. Take your time and use extreme caution to avoid slips and falls. It is important to remember to use proper lifting techniques. These include, but not limited to, the following. Plan your task. Ensure that the patient is manageable or get more assistance. Keep the patient close to your body. Maintain the natural S-shaped curve of your spine or lordosis, and tighten your core muscles as you lift. Do not hold your breath. Exhale as you lift the patient. When lowering the patients to a lower surface height, bend your knees and do not use your back. Requesting LifeNet for a flight outbound. High utilizer units, Wilson Emergency Department, CVICU, and ICU will call LifeNet New York Aircom directly using the provided LifeNet New York Blue phone for any patient that requires transport. The following information will be provided. Hospital and unit, callback phone number, demographics, weight, primary diagnosis, any special equipment needed, an example, vent, PED pod, ECMO, balloon pump, destination unit, and room number at accepting facility. LifeNet New York will call back with confirmation of accepted flight or declination of request. Aircom will provide ETA if accepted and any special instructions. If declined by the first helicopter per protocol, Aircom will review with other flight services before providing information that the request is declined. All other units in the hospitals, including BGH Emergency Department, will still need to contact the on-call medevac flight operations manager to request an outbound flight. Aircom LifeNet New York phone number is 800-525-6663. Additional details or a special request should be communicated to the on-call EMS Medevac Flight Operations Manager. If the fixed-wing aircraft should be requested for a transfer out of the hospital or several aircrafts are coming in at once, call the EMS Program Manager of EMS Life Flight Operations or on-call flight manager to help coordinate the flights. Clinical leaders may also request early relocation of a medevac helicopter based on an inbound or in-house critical emergency that will likely require emergent use of a helicopter. For example, inbound pediatric CPR with signs of life, inbound critical pediatric emergency, inbound severe burn, etc. The purpose of the above stipulation is to have helicopter resources here on the premises when needed to avoid delays. If the need arises for a fixed-wing life flight, the sending unit will need to contact the on-call EMS medevac to help coordinate the transfer, as there are many parts to this transfer, including help arrange an ambulance to pick up the flight team and bring them to the hospital to pick the patient up. These policies are written with the intent to provide guidance in the decision-making process, but it is ultimately the decision of the transferring physician as to the mode of transportation after consideration of the following. Are the risks and costs of aeromedical transport necessary to provide optimal, efficient, and/or quality patient care? Does a life-threatening or potentially disabling medical or surgical emergency exist? Does a written physician order exist that documents the order for use of an air ambulance, medical helicopter, or medical fixed-wing aircraft? An example, jet or turboprop. Have all of the time factors, weather, and potential delays been considered in deciding to utilize an air ambulance efficiently and appropriately? Have specific physician orders been written that detail the type of staff and license certification required to accompany this patient, as well as IVs, medications, interventions in progress, and/or any anticipated in-flight emergencies, provisions for physician medical command during flight? Is the patient stable, or are there conditions that could develop or worsen as a result of exposure to air ambulance transport? The patient's weight versus desired mode of transport. Current and forecasted weather conditions. Any potential safety concerns for the flight crew. Is the patient suicidal, homicidal, combative, restrained, or have an altered level of consciousness? If we are flying newborns or pediatric patients between 6 and 12 weeks old, special planning and preparation is required, as the use of a newborn or pediatric pod will likely be used by the flight crew. Lastly, a complete patient transfer, including report to or from the flight crew, is required with each patient interaction. We hope that you have found this program to be enjoyable, informative, and valuable to your position as a trained member of our UHS Landing Zone team. Should you have any questions, we urge you to reach out to the facilitator of this program, your direct supervisor, or the program manager of EMS Life Flights.